I could care less what Bitcoin trades for, how it trades, why it trades, who trades it. If you're stupid enough to buy it, you'll pay the price for it one day.
Before we start talking about Bitcoin, let's talk about the CEO of America's largest bank. Jamie Dimon is 61 years old. He was born in 1956, which means that when he was 5 years old, JFK was assassinated. When he was 13, America landed their first man on the moon, and when he finished high school, the internet as we know it didn't exist. When Jamie Dimon was 30 years old and his mum called him to wish him a happy birthday, he answered on a phone that looked like this. The reason that this is so important is that this guy and guys like him are in charge of looking after and investing your money. If you're a millennial like me and you have some type of retirement account or 401k, it's professional bankers just like this who we're paying to invest our funds and shape our future. And I find it absolutely infuriating that a clown like this, who we pay $28 million a year to make sound financial and technological decisions, has this to say about some of the most promising and upcoming technology.
I could care less about Bitcoin. I don't know why I said anything about it.
But Jamie Dimon isn't alone. Throughout history, we've had haters that are more interested in protecting their jobs than improving their industry and making the world a better place. In 1899, Charles Duell, who was the commissioner of the US Patent Office, said that everything that can be invented has been invented. In 1927, H.M. Warner said, "Who the hell wants to see films where the actors speak?" The fact is that Jamie Dimon is protecting a dying industry and he doesn't even know it yet.
I don't personally understand the value of something that has no actual value.
So in order to help Jamie understand the value of Bitcoin, I've pulled up some charts from credit unions and banks in the United States, and I want to go through each point one by one. So Mr. Dimon sees absolutely no value in Bitcoin, but he does see value in having a US checking account, which is interesting because if you have a US checking account, the chances are you're paying approximately $10.27 per month in fees, just for the pleasure of having that account. But wait, if you go through a credit union, you can reduce that fee to $6. I just want to make it clear that if you own Bitcoin and you have a Bitcoin wallet, it costs $0 to own. There's no maintenance fees, there's no minimum balances, there is absolutely no cost associated with actually owning Bitcoin. Next, we have minimum balances and waived fees. Why do you need a minimum balance? You're giving the bank your money. They're using your money to go and lend to other people. The very idea that they can't cover their fees and their operations is comical. Look at the profits, look at the way their shares have been performing in the market, and then add the fact that in 2008 we had to bail them out after they royally screwed up our economy to a point that it was barely able to recover. Now they want to tell you it's, oh, incredible, we have online banking. Mate, online banking has been around since 1999. You're 20 years late. When I use my Bitcoin account and when I use my Bittrex account, they require that I have two-factor authentication. When I use your bank account, you want to send me an SMS message. There's no comparison. You're 20 years behind the technology and you're somehow still arguing about it. One place that banks still have a large competitive advantage on is when it comes to getting fiat in your hand. Because when you actually need currency, converting Bitcoin to cash is still complicated. There are more solutions coming out on the market, the transactions are getting better, and that's something as a community we know that we're working on. But when it comes to, for example, having a bank account and being able to go to an ATM and pull money, that is one place right now that the banks are winning. But if you've watched my videos, you'll know that 10x and there are other payment providers that are hot on the heels of these banks and on these credit card processes, so even that is about to change. Now, the next part of this graph is really what pisses me off, because it says here that if you have insufficient funds in your bank account, that there's a $34 fee associated with that. Now, I want to point out that the minimum wage before tax in the United States is $7.50. So that means that if you're a single mother and you're working, and let's say that you go shopping and you overdraft your account by $1, you'll be charged $34 in fees. Now, if you want to go and work, you've got to go work 5 hours to go and pay off that stupid overdraft fee for $1. And you could say, well, that single mother, she should have checked her balances more often, or she should have done something else. Look, I understand that you shouldn't overdraft your account, and I understand that it was a mistake. What I don't understand is how the fact that you were able to advance somebody literally $1 for one day, you can somehow justify the fact that you need a $34 fee. Everything's done electronically. You're not servicing the customers. This wasn't like some huge, massive inconvenience to you. There's absolutely no reason or possible way that you can justify a $34.48 fee. And when the credit union says, oh, here's a better deal, we're going to give you a $27.82 fee, it's ridiculous. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are changing this. We are getting rid of banks. Things are becoming peer-to-peer. We're building systems of trust. We're building technologies where we don't need to trust banks anymore. And the important thing to note is that banks haven't treated us very fairly in the past either. The 2008 financial crisis was almost entirely caused by just sloppy lending practices, by loose and reckless investments, and just an overall mentality that things can keep going up forever.
The world economy is so big. We move JPMorgan alone. These companies, $6 trillion. We move all this money, and Bitcoin in total is 50. All these currencies are $50 billion, maybe $1 billion trades a day.
I don't even know how I'm seriously supposed to respond to this. So I think the best thing to do is to quote Wayne Gretzky, and he's a famous hockey player who said, "A good player looks to where the puck is. A great player looks to where the puck is going to go." And I think that really summarizes Chase Bank's position, because if you want to look at where Bitcoin is today, yeah, it's big. It's not as big as the stock markets. It's not as big as the other financial markets. But if you look at the exponential growth, do you think it's going to stop tomorrow? Do you think this is slowing down? Do you think people like me are just going to give up and say, oh no, I want to hold US dollars again? There are 6 billion people in this world that need banking and financial services. And if there's anything that history's taught us, is that JPMorgan and Chase is completely incapable of being the service provider. So while Jamie Dimon earns $28 million a year and laughs at the small volumes being done on Bitcoin, he forgets to tell you that his marketing budget at JPMorgan Chase is over $2.8 billion. And really, he gets a disproportionately large share of the media, because people like me, just average consumers, just people who's had their lives changed by Bitcoin, we don't really have a fair fight here. But thanks to YouTube, thanks to social media, I'm able to come out into my backyard, I'm able to articulate my argument, and I hope that there is a small group of people that agree with me and that can see this and can sort of help us bring on this next crypto revolution. So it's important to note that with Bitcoin, there is a zero marketing budget. Chase Bank's marketing budget, $2.8 billion. Bitcoin's marketing budget, zero. The whole Bitcoin community gets together. It's individuals like me who are promoting Bitcoin. I don't get paid by Bitcoin. I get paid less than $1,500 per month in YouTube ad revenue, and then I go and give that back to my viewers because I'm not interested in the $1,500. I'm interested in the technology. I want to get as many people using cryptocurrencies as possible. I want everybody to educate themselves and understand the technology, because I am 100% certain that once you understand how cryptocurrencies work, and once you understand that this technology, you will never ever think, oh, I want to use my bank account again. Adding to my frustration is the fact that there are so many fantastic entrepreneurs that understand technology. I mean, look at Elon Musk, look at Steve Wozniak, look at Richard Branson, Mark Cuban, Robert Herjavec, Warren Buffett. I mean, we have so many incredible business moguls, business icons, investment specialists. Let's look to them and say, what do you think about Bitcoin? But no, instead, the people that get press and people get coverage about Bitcoin are Martha Stewart, Jordan Belford, which is the guy that the video of Wolf of Wall Street was based off, Jamie Dimon. I mean, these people are criminals. They have a proven track record of not being able to run their business. Jamie Dimon says, oh, there's all this manipulation in the media. In 2008, his bank took a $1 billion bailout. And then he had the balls to come back and say, oh, the only reason that I took it is because if I didn't, I was worried that the smaller banks wouldn't take their bailout.
These people are very good at manipulating the press these days and getting news out. And
if you want to talk about manipulating the media and manipulating time, I mean, 2008 was chaos. Banks had really turned our financial system on its head. And the fact that now, after the fact that, you know, everything's okay, after the banks have recovered, that Jamie can get up and say, oh, I didn't really need the money, but, you know, I took it because I'm a good guy.
These people are very good at manipulating the press these days and getting news out. And
it's laughable. Like, how else do you want me to even argue about manipulation of the media when you can get away with making comments like that and nobody calls you out?
These people are very good at manipulating the press these days and getting news out. And
so while I have a decent understanding of cryptocurrencies and the economics behind them, I don't really understand how banks work. And it took me a while, it took me a couple weeks to research. So JPMorgan and Chase has paid over $13 billion in fines for fraudulent mortgage practices. They've also paid over $1 billion of fines for their part in the Bernie Madoff scheme. All of this happened while Jamie was CEO of JPMorgan and Chase. And yet he's the one that wants to call Bitcoin a fraud?
My daughter sent me an email saying, "Dad, I own 2 Bitcoins." My formerly smart daughter.
What's funnier is that Jamie Dimon's family even sees the value in Bitcoin.
Governments are going to crush it one day. Governments like to know where the money is, who has it, and what you're doing with it. And in case you haven't noticed.
Theodore Roosevelt was one of America's greatest presidents. He created economic policies that set the United States on a path to become the world's largest, most efficient economy. And he did it on this fundamental principle that the government is supposed to service the people. So when we say governments will crush Bitcoin, I don't think that that's fair. We're forgetting the power that each citizen is supposed to have. We are living in a world where we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And there is no crime in using Bitcoin. So the fact that the governments want to regulate it, I completely understand. But just because you want to regulate something doesn't mean that I'm going to agree on it. If you knock on my door and say, "Hey, can I look at your house?" No, you can't. Come back with a warrant if you don't have a warrant. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand their rights as citizens. And this is why it's so important right now that we say, hey, big banks aren't treating us right. We have a new technology platform that we can start to use. And as a global citizen, and as one of the lucky citizens that are living in a semi-free democracy, it's important that we take note, because we have to think about our future, we have to think about the world that we want our children to live in, and we have to think about the impact that these large companies are having on all of us. My favorite story about Theodore Roosevelt was he made it clear to the public that he was going to absolutely destroy cartels. He made it clear that if America was to grow as a country, we needed to have equal rights, we needed to have a level playing field, and that while these giant monopolies had been able to form, they were actually doing a huge disservice to the country as a whole. I think it was J.D. Rockefeller or one of the other magnates at the time was furious at this. He got in his private train, he went to Washington, and he went to the president's office and said, "I demand to see the president." Theodore Roosevelt said, "This is the problem with America. Rich people think that they can come in here and monopolize my time." He said, "I'm a public servant. I work for the people. Everybody has an equal say." And this way of thinking just seems so foreign now when we have lobbyists, when we have Donald Trump in power. It really has changed over time. So as citizens, it's time to remember that we hold the power, we hold the choice. And if you're not guilty of a crime, you need to be presumed innocent. You can't create laws because you think maybe this is going to happen in the future. And I feel like as a country, this is something that we've just slowly transitioned into. And as much as we've been centralizing these businesses the same way that in the 1800s oil, railroad, and gas did, I mean, all of our services have been centralized. So maybe it's time we start decentralizing them. Maybe it's time we start looking at these anti-competitive behaviors and we start really addressing them instead of being like, "Oh, wow, corporate greed is good," as a really, really unhealthy part to our economy, as something that's actually killing our GDP, killing creativity, killing an efficiency. So I think the sooner that we can take that strategy, the better we'll be. Guys, thanks for watching this video. I would absolutely love an opportunity to debate Jamie Dimon in public. Unlike Jamie, I'm not a billionaire. My net worth would probably be closer to somewhere around $1 million. But to show that I'm serious about this debate, to show that I'm serious about this technology, I'm willing to say right now that I'll stake $10,000 that I'll donate to charity if Mr. Dimon will debate me in any public forum. He can pick the time, the place, and the audience. I'm in. So if you think this is a good idea, let's maybe try to get something trending on Twitter. Let's use hashtag JPMorgan. Let's use hashtag DebateDavid. Maybe we can get this topic to trend. Maybe there are some other people on the internet that would like to donate to this public debate. Maybe we can get this to gain some traction in the YouTube community, because wouldn't it be incredible if an average Joe like me was able to debate a billionaire publicly? Psst, follow me. Every time somebody likes one of my videos, I water these plants. Every time somebody subscribes to my channel, I give them a treat. Every time somebody shares a video on Facebook. So if you like gardening, dogs, America, or cryptocurrencies, you should support this channel.